I am going to throw it over to Artorias and Destiny of a Dragon Warrior for the Dragon Warrior Randomizer.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. It's Artorias 308 here, with my partner, Destiny of a Dragon Warrior, and our commentator, Archfield Monk. Going to be running Dragon Warrior Randomizer, but a co-op version. What that means, we share gold, XP, and quest items and keys, but we essentially both play the game on our own and just try to defeat the Dragon Lord as we move along. So it's going to be a fun time. Show you something a little bit different, as co-op isn't too popular, unfortunately, in randomizers. But yes, outside of the archipelago, of course, but should be a fun time.
Thank you, Artorias. I am Archfield Monk. Both of our racers are getting ready to go here. So as Artorias said, this is going to be Dragon Warrior Randomizer, no stranger to the halls of Randomania is Dragon Warrior Randomizer. It's been around for a long time now. But this is, as Artorias said, Dragon Warrior Randomizer Co-op. So you see on screen both of our runners today. Destiny and Artorias, they actually have their emulators, I think using FCEUX, linked via a Lua script. So basically anything that happens in the seed will be shared between the two of them when they grab items, equipment, everything but herbs, really. Anything that ends up in the inventory, all of their gold and experience, they'll be gathering that together, so those will be shared as well. So it's a really interesting dynamic, and as Artorias said, really hasn't been demonstrated on sort of a big stage before. So we're really happy to be here in support of NAMI, in support of Randothon, and to show off some Dragon Warrior Randomizer co-op for everybody today. So, gentlemen, if you think you're good to go.
Okay, as always, Destiny, you get the countdown.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Archfield. 3, 2, 1, co-op.
All right, so our racers are going to get the rundown here, a little bit of the background story from King Lorik. If you're not familiar with this, Dragon Warrior, in the vanilla game, our basic goal is that the land of Alefgard has been plunged into darkness by the evil Dragon Lord, who is absconded with the Ball of Light. So our Dragon Warriors have to go try to retrieve that from the Dragon Lord. And in the process, going to do some adventuring, pick up some gear, and do some different things. But as you see right now, one of the interesting components of co-op is that our runners have started with some gold. And because inventory is shared, both of the runners have picked up a key behind the throne there. So Artorias actually stayed put in the throne room there so that Destiny could take that gold around to the back door of the castle to buy some more magic keys. So they get to start with some keys here, with some finagling. And one of the flags that are on today, I'll kind of talk about the flags as we encounter different things, but one of the flags that is frequently on in co-op is the random chest locations flag. So there are a bunch of different locations. You might see some chests where you don't normally in standard flags if you're very familiar with Dragon Warrior Randomizer. But here we've got Artorias is going to head into the world, and DWR, one of the main features is that we've got the capacity to generate some random maps. So everything will be unfamiliar to our runners. They're going to go out there into the overworld and try to explore their way through things. Destiny, real quick, I did not catch what was in Stone's Cave there.
Nothing interesting.
Nothing interesting. Good to know.
One of them was keys.
Which we've already got, so no big deal. But as you also see here, we've started the grind a little bit up to level 2 now. I'm going to be keeping tabs on stats here in the background, so I'll kind of keep you updated in terms of what Go mode is, but it's kind of interesting in co-op, not to spoil anything just yet. If you haven't seen DWR co-op before, Go mode's a little bit fuzzy when we get toward the end game because there are some interesting things, interesting maneuvers you can pull off. But both of our runners right now are grinding, and wow, we've got a pretty big strength level there. That was 22 power on level 3, it looked like. Stats are pretty integral to Dragon Warrior Randomizer. There's a lot of math going on. I will address some of it, but not a lot of it over the course of today's run. And so they're able to fight some better enemies right now. And as you see, Artorias getting some experience there off that Drakima. So yet another level. So things are moving along pretty quickly here in the early going. Another thing that you might notice if you are familiar with Dragon Warrior Randomizer is that some of these experience and gold values are different than what you might normally see. Our racers today are running with a fairly common co-op dynamic using the flags, 2 flags in concert actually. One of them is randomize XP and gold, as well as the make random stats consistent flag. So that means that the XP and gold be randomized within a range that is roughly commensurate with the strength of the enemy. There are some exceptions to that, and I'll kind of point those out when we get to them. But in the meantime, Artorias has got another level here. 6, a big agility gain there, 6 strength. So things going pretty decently so far. And while we have a moment, both Artorias and Destiny striking out here to explore a little bit, kind of run down some of the other flags that we have in this particular flag set. Co-op, of course, you're collecting experience and gold at roughly twice the rate you would be otherwise because both racers are fighting monsters. So as a consequence, we generally run with the normal XP values on, so the experience thresholds required for the next level will be the same as they are in vanilla, which is it's pretty difficult. But again, accumulating XP at roughly twice the rate at that they would usually. So not as big a deal as it might be. I already mentioned those random chest locations that you'll see in some different places throughout the seed. And got some other things to heal and hurt before more, so those less powerful versions of some integral spells, heal and hurt, will always show up before their more powerful versions, heal more and hurt more. We've also got permanent torch on today, so both racers will be able to see in dark areas like caves. And we've also got the treasure guards flag on, which is interesting. So all of our quest items and our important pieces of equipment will have a monster sitting on top of them that they'll have to defeat before they can get to those. And it looks like Artorias has found our first cave. This is the grave of Garen. Oh, my apologies. Reverse cough button there. But Destiny is rapidly approaching level 6 here, it looks like, but Artorias is going to get sent out of grave before he can see anything. As you see, 10 experience points remaining until the next level.
There's nothing to the southwest, Artorias.
Gotcha.
One of the fun things about co-op is that the players can speak to each other and communicate, so we're able to tell each other and strategize. Go here, go there. Oops, I saw this.
Occasionally, we're even paying attention to make use of it.
We did just get healed, by the way.
Yep, pickup of the important heal spell there on level 5. So stats are pretty good, and I would say we've got roughly 40 strength right now, roughly 32 agility. I say roughly because actually both of our racers, one of the interesting things about co-op and Dragon Warrior, your statistical build, there's a little bit of a difference between builds depending on the name that you choose for your characters. So you see there single character names for both of our runners today, Artorias going with that lowercase a, Destiny going with the lowercase d. And what that means is, as the game progresses, Artorias will be gaining a little bit more agility and magic points, and Destiny will be gaining a little bit more strength and hit points. So there's actually a difference between their statistics at any given point in the seed. And that will come into play sort of in the late game here. We'll talk a little bit more about that as it approaches, but I think Artorias back in grave now, so we'll keep an eye on his progress there. No chests, it looks like, on the left-hand side of grave where some of those random chest locations are, but the enemy set here in grave looks like it's a little bit tricky. Got some blue dragons there. Ooh, nice crit. Destiny taking down that Wolf Lord. So actually no chest on the left side of grave at all, and in the typical locations, there was, now as you see there where Artorias stepped onto that chest, it is possible that this could be a treasure guard. This wyvern could be guarding something important, one of our 3 quest items, either the silver harp, any of the silver harp, the stones of sunlight, or the or Erdrick's token, which are quest items that our runners will need. I'll talk more about that in a moment. But it could also be Erdrick's sword or Erdrick's armor. Actually, a pretty big chunk of experience there, too. Well done on that kill, Artorias. Not easy chipping your way through a wyvern right there, but picks up the spell of outside on that next level, too. We'll see if there is anything of consequence in that chest. Yeah, that was Erdrick's sword. So, most powerful weapon in the game picked up right there by Artorias. And because Artorias picked it up, that means both of our racers have Erdrick's sword. And is this,
Yes.
was that also, was that 2 more treasure guards, possibly?
I believe so. Yeah.
Wow,
so,
okay, 3, the 3 vanilla chests in grave look like they might be treasure guarded. That's actually pretty hilarious. I knew you'd run from the first one. I guess I open question whether or not the second was a treasure guard, but it's almost certainly a treasure guard. Saw that demon knight there, so that'll be fascinating. So 3 of our 5 treasure guarded items. Oh, and hey, ghosts have DL too. That's great.
Imagine that.
Imagine it.
Was there
So
anything
Destiny has arrived in
the
the
shop?
town of Garenham. I think this is our first town of the seed.
There was nothing that was affordable. There was magic armor, no shields, and a flame sword.
And a flame sword, which I guess you don't need so much now.
Nope.
Back of Garenham has 4 potential chest locations, so naturally there are 0. There's 0 chests in Garenham. I don't know, guys. HP is lagging here a little bit. What have we got on level 7? Looks like about 40, high 40s, 47-ish. So the attack power is real good. Yeah, attack power is real good. Erdrick's sword is worth 40, and they have mid-50s strength between the 2 of them, so that attack power is up in the, close to the, pushing 100 there. And Destiny is in Swamp Cave now. Just that one chest on the south side, looked like. There is one more potential chest location, but there is a boss tile in front of that chest location, so probably skipping on that for now and just heading through. Looks like Artorias is going to grind here. The next level is coming up after this. Let's see. 800 experience, I think, is the next level.
Correct.
You can get the half plate now, by the way.
Excellent.
Oh yeah, just grabbed enough gold for half plate there. So one of the wonderful things about co-op, so Artorias is out gathering some experience and gold right now. And as a consequence, Destiny in town is going to be able to afford some equipment. Half plate, worth 16 defense, will be a nice boost, especially with the hit points still kind of on the low-ish side. Although for level 7, I guess that's not so bad. There is one chest here in the town that Destiny is in right now. Brecconary, and it looks like just a fairy water in that chest. So as promised, this looks like a good spot to talk a little bit about what exactly it is we're doing. As I mentioned, we're trying to defeat the Dragon Lord, restore peace to Alfgard. In order to do that, We need some things along the way. We've already found the game's most powerful weapon, Erdrick's Sword, which is not necessarily actually requisite in co-op, but we do have that at our disposal. Also looking for Erdrick's Armor, which is fairly requisite, at least if you don't want to gain an extra 5 or 10 levels at the end of the game in order to try to beat it. We also have our 3 quest items, which I mentioned, the Silver Harp, the Stones of Sunlight, and Erdrick's Token, which will be required to enter the game's final dungeon, Charlock Castle. We'll also need to find a shrine at which we'll trade the Silver Harp for the Staff of Rain, and that will give us all 3 components we need to form the Rainbow Drop at a separate shrine. And once we have that Rainbow Drop, we'll be able to use it to create the Rainbow Bridge, get across the moat into Charlock, and assault the game's final dungeon, but we're still a fair bit a ways from that. Looks like we're doing a bit of grinding right now. Artorias has found a pretty good spot. What have you got in this zone?
Pretty much more here for the Wolf Lord, but
yeah,
Skeletons here nice as well.
Yeah, there hasn't been a really great zone so far, so this looks like this is pretty good. The skeletons rolled down a little bit, so that's somewhat disappointing, but at the same time, there's only so much you can fight right now with, you know, kind of HP that's still not over 50. So it looks like Destiny, you're trying to head east a little bit. This map looks like it's branching pretty significantly. We do have a town here. This was not too far away, town of Cantlin. So there are 3 shops here, and with keys already in hand, our runners will also be able to access a place at the bottom of Cantlin here that will give them an idea of whether or not there are overworld coordinates. So one of the quest items, Erdrick's Token in vanilla, is located on an overworld search spot, and you're given the coordinates to that, so you kind of have to count them out, figure out where things are. But in this case, our runners on their random map still have that situation, and there could be an item, one of our quest items that I talked about, one of our pieces of equipment. Of course, we've already got swords, so that's not included, but could also be one of 2 other items. The Death Necklace, which is typically a cursed item, but in Randomizer and in this flag set, is an item that will give you plus 10 attack power at the expense of 25% of your maximum hit points. It could also be the Fairy Flute, which puts golems to sleep. But as Destiny just mentioned, there are no coordinates in the seed, so we're not going to have to hunt down the overworld search tile in this one. And I think we are very fast approaching level 9 here, just 9 experience points away. So this Poltergeist on Artorias' side will do it. And we'll see what level 9 brings. A blank for agility, but 34 magic points, at least for Artorias. With that difference in builds, there will be a little bit of a difference here between our 2 racers, and we're starting to see that sort of build up as the seed goes along. For instance, right now, Artorias has maximum of 76 magic points, and Destiny has a maximum of 71 magic points, so a little bit of a difference there between the 2 based on those builds that I mentioned at the beginning of the seed. HP is picked up pretty well. Destiny's now in the 70s, it's 74. So can hopefully try to find some other stuff to fight. And I like this fight Destiny is taking right now. Puts this Magiwyvern to sleep, got plenty of attack power, so 2 swings and done. That's 100 experience points. So a pretty big deal. Yeah, and I kind of figured this might happen, but Destiny's going to take a moment and see what else might be in the zone, if it's any good. And with that, Artorias is going to head back into Grave and take on some treasure guards, or at least attempt to. And I think this is a good choice too. Picks up Erdrick's Token from that chest on the left, the slightly less difficult enemy there, the Demon Knight. Now a slightly more difficult enemy in the Green Dragon. It can be put to sleep, but it's not really having any of this right at the moment.
Green Dragon I saw in the overworld was very heavy hurt, but this one forgets that it knows the hurt spell.
Yeah, go figure. It always seems to work out that way. So monsters can have some different abilities. When they roll those abilities, there'll be there's basically 2 slots. One of them is kind of a utility spell slot. So you'll see things there like sleep and stop spell, which will render you unable to cast spells, heal and heal more. And then there's another slot that will have kind of their attack abilities, Fire Breath or even Dragon Lord 2 Breath, the most powerful attack in the game, which can, without armor on, without Erdrick's armor, can hit you for between 65 and 72. We've seen, fortunately, not too much of that except from that ghost earlier. But the also in that slot can be the Hurt and Hurt More spells, and each of those abilities will roll some percentage at which those enemies will cast that as a random chance. 25%, 50%, 75%. So sometimes you just get the wrong end of that when you're fighting something that has an otherwise weak ability. I think that was probably the case here. Knowing co-op, Destiny's on his way, I think, to fight this green dragon right now. And knowing co-op, he's going to get nothing but hurt casts. It's just going to be complete opposite from Artorias' experience.
Armor Knight says no.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, Destiny's not even going to get there. Got blocked by an Armored Knight. Very difficult to run away from. They have high agility and a sort of a high run modifier. So if you run into one of those, if you can't fight it, and right at the moment they can't really, not without heal more, not without hurt more, then yeah, you might be cooked. And speaking of which, I think that was the Magiwyvern zone Artorias. We've got a blue dragon down here too. So get some back from that, but just a couple more monsters required. The next level's at 2,000 experience. Oh wow. The Ghost Dodge on Destiny's side gets DL2 Breath to 1 hit point. But with that Ghost kill, we are closer to the level, and Artorias is going to pick this up. 5-1-1-1 and Radiant. Radiant's actually pretty useful in this flag set in certain circumstances. Because of those random chest locations, if you have to dive a dungeon looking for the different places and nooks and crannies where chests can be, Radiant will help out with that a lot. So even though Permanent Torch is on, that Radiant spell is still very useful. That said, we do already have a couple of different quest items from the top of Grave there. We've got Erdrick's Sword, we've got Erdrick's Token. We still don't know, and I believe we've got... let's see, what was in that left-hand chest? I actually forgot already.
Left was the token, and right was the sword.
Okay, that's right. No, yeah, that checks. That tracks. Yeah, so you have 2 things so far, and those are both the treasure guards you beat. Got it. Okay, so the third chest in the middle, we haven't seen yet. It's got that green dragon and some tough monsters on top floor of Grave. It looks like the area around Grave there, at least, is mostly a dead end, though. So Destiny's going to head back inside. See if he can get to that middle chest this time, and if so, if he can take out that green dragon. It's actually a pretty high likelihood he can beat this green if he gets there.
Which chest has the green, Artorias?
Middle. Left is Demon Knight worth 117.
Alright, so Green Dragon might actually just be able to win a damage race with this, and if it casts Hurt at least once or twice, then it's basically guaranteed that he'll take out this green, and we'll get to see our third treasure-guarded chest. This one is the Silver Harp. So we've got 2 of our quest items now, and actually, as you see, Destiny is going to go ahead and take this forced encounter with the Demon Knight, because it is worth a lot of experience, and you know what's on this tile, so may as well get it. And that's 117, so nice play there. I like that a lot. Unfortunately, unlike the spike tiles elsewhere in the seed, those boss tiles in 3 different locations, the ruined town of Hawksness, in Swamp Cave, and in Charlotte Castle, the treasure guards do not regenerate. So you beat them once, that's a one-off, and then they're done. But that's still a nice chunk of experience there. In Grave, as well as that last quest, as well as that last treasure guarded chest that we needed. So job done there, I think, in the very north part of the map in that section. Next level coming up soon. I want to say 2900.
Correct.
It's actually been a little while since I've co-op, so it's a little fuzzy in my brain, but I usually get there.
2,900 and then 4,000 after that.
Yeah, and then we start. Then it starts escalating pretty quickly. So level 10 right now, things are actually looking pretty good. In terms of our statistical progression, I've already got attack power in the hundreds with Erdrick's sword. So our runners are enabled to fight a lot of things, but without the heal more spell, there's certain stuff that is a little bit on the trickier side. These blue dragons are one such enemy. Might be able to win a damage race with them, though. Ooh, nice job skating there on the 1 hit point. That's going to be level.
Got lucky there.
A little bit, but close to home. I think that's a nice shot to take. And picked up level 11. Yeah, the attack power is looking real good. 72 strength on level 11 for... I'll do the readout on Destiny stats. So 72 strength. The agility, on the other hand, is rather poor. 44. So that's lagging behind a little bit. 89 hit points, 82 magic points. So Artorias will have a little bit more agility and magic. Destiny has a little bit more strength and hit points, just as a reminder. So I'll keep tabs on that and keep you posted as the seed progresses and we head toward go mode. The enemy sets on this map have not been particularly kind. If there is a good grind zone, I have not personally figured out what that zone would be yet. There's a couple of decent enemies in different spots, but really it seems pretty top heavy in terms of zones. There'll be 1 or 2 good monsters or even decent monsters, and then just kind of not much anything after that. That said, there are a couple of spike tiles available without heal more or hurt more. Those can be a little trickier. There's only a handful of enemies that you might reasonably hope to beat routinely that would be on a repeatable boss tile.
Full cleared everything to the east.
Yeah, pretty immediate dead end there east of the castle, east of the start as well. Looks like Cantlin was the only thing over that way. So still a lot of map to figure out. And our last quest item, the Stones of Sunlight, could be basically anywhere. We know there's no overworld coordinates, but there are a couple of different places where there's an item just lying around, so to speak. We still need to find the town of Cole. There is a search spot there where there can be any of those items that I mentioned earlier that are considered important items. There's also a search tile in the ruined town of Hawksness. That one is guarded by a repeatable boss fight, so can be advantageous to find that in order to do some grinding.
We're going to be grinding enemies here for a minute or two if the host has anything to announce.
Oh, I have a couple things to announce. Give me just one moment here while my mouse decides to do mouse things. But real quick, I do want to mention that we do have a couple donations. Sorry, my page froze. All right. So I want to first start off with a $100 donation from DK9146 that states, "Defeat the flute, save the Dragon Lord." Then we have a $25 donation from Anonymous going towards Hug the Plushie, and that was the deciding factor to close out our incentive. We are hugging a plushie, folks. Tunic is go. Then we have a $10 donation from your host, me, because, oops, I mistakenly thought this was a race earlier and advertised it as such, and I'm going to pay for that mistake. Literally, with $10. I'm going to put it towards Well, I didn't see anyone mention Seth in the Fantasy Star 4 talk, so I'm going to put $1 towards him and $9 towards Demi. So we do have a full party of 5 for the Fantasy Star 4 randomizer run, with Alice, Demi, Raja, Ren, and Seth. So if you want to get in there and snipe that, that is our upcoming run. And that is all I have at the moment. If I will toss it back to our grind crew.
Thank you so much, Big Daryl. Thank you so much, those of you who donated. If you haven't done so already, and you can, I encourage you to do so. NAMI is a great organization, doing lots of wonderful work, and to be able to support them through this marathon, it's very nice. And hey, real quick, the meme radish purchase for Destiny, applause, please. Thank you, everyone, for the applause.
The real purpose in there was to get a large shield, but the radish vendor had a sale, so we had to pick those up too, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you're
You're
in
supposed to
Cantlin.
have the princess with you there to Destiny.
All right, this seems like just to check in real quick, this seems like a pretty decent zone you've got going here. So I see an Axe Knight, I see a Green Dragon, I saw that Wraith, which is a little bit of a nuisance. I think it had sleep, but still a pretty good zone overall. And as I say that, picking up level 12 there on Artorias' side. So both of our runners will get that.
With the
Still-
hurt, heal before more flag that's on, we now have available to us either heal more or hurt more, since we've learned both base, hurt, and heal with that level. We're up to hurt and now can learn either of the more spells anywhere between this next level at 13 through 16.
Yes, exactly. So with that flag on, those Moors will show up later than their slightly weaker spells in the same family. So now that they're there, those spells can show up anytime. So you see both of our racers right now sitting down and grinding in the zone. Looks like a pretty good zone. And if I'm being arcane at all when I'm talking about zones, I apologize. I'll try to explain a little bit what happens here. But in Dragon Warrior Randomizer, basically the map is 120 by 120, at least in the size setting that is being used for this flag set. And that map is broken up into 15 by 15 sections of grid, and you see the tiles that our racers have been walking on. There'll basically be 5 monsters that are randomly rolled into each of those 15 by 15 sections. And so you can kind of get a sense of which monsters are in which zones and leverage that to your advantage, either through grinding or through perhaps avoiding the zone altogether, because there's a bunch of dangerous stuff there. So with those zones set up that way, you have basically a good idea of which monsters you're going to get in a given area. And as you see, our racers are walking on those desert tiles pretty much exclusively because those have the highest encounter rate in the game. You're going to get an encounter approximately 1 in every 8 steps. So this is, with the exception of possibly a spike tile, one of those boss tiles that I mentioned earlier in the run. This is one of the best possible grind spots they could find right now. They've got some great monsters to fight, some Axe Knights here, some Green Dragons, extremely valuable enemies that are relatively safe to fight because they've got a lot of attack power right now on level 12 with Erdrick's Sword. And as it happens, I think that's actually level 13 already. So as you see, these levels can really fly by when both co-op players are grinding at the same time. Picking up level 13 there already. No strength on that level. But we are approaching go mode. We're kind of getting there anyway. We still need some more hit points. That's still the lag stat at this point. But on Artorias' side, who's running an MP build, he's got 99 MP already. So really we're looking for the one big spell, Heal More. You don't necessarily need Hurt More to win the game, but Heal More is required. It's a hard requirement to beat it. And so we're looking for that, and we're still looking for some more hit points, I think.
Artorias, are you looking at exploring out now?
Yes, that's exactly where I'm going. Where was Gernham?
It is far to the west, and then you'll eventually get to the west coast. It is south from there.
Okay.
All right, so we get our little sort of sideline peek into what's going on here. So Artorias is going to head out, explore a little bit. Destiny, you've some more grinding planned?
Yes. That's generally how we function, both off of our skill sets as well as our build. Since I have the strength HP build, once we get to these higher levels, I'll usually sit back and grinding if we have a good grind, while Artorias is a more skilled mapper and explorer, and along with the agility MP build, he's more likely to go push out and explore.
I like it. That's one of my favorite things about co-op is you get to just not only are you collaborating in game in terms of getting all the stuff, but you also get to kind of divide those responsibilities a little bit and get to watch each other's screens and kind of see what's going on. And you can divide things up that way. If one person prefers to kind of grind a little bit more, then you can absolutely do that and still make a lot of progress while somebody else explores, and so on and so forth. So you can really share those responsibilities and support each other that way. All right, so Artorias has made it to Brecconary. Our runners have built up a fairly considerable stockpile of gold. You see about 3,300 there, and there is a full plate here in Breck. So Artorias is going to cash out that half plate, pick up some full plate. Best armor you can get in terms of, one of the best armors you can get in terms of defense points other than the best armor in the game, Erdrick's armor, which we have not seen quite yet. I will point out really quickly, right now Artorias is in an item shop picking up these herbs which are good for restoring hit points. That is one of the items that is not shared between our two racers. So this Lua script does not share herbs. Each of our runners will have a separate supply of herbs, so they'll get to use those in the end-game situations.
Showing off my inventory that I have 0 herbs, even though Artorias just bought a lot.
Yes, there we go. Visual demonstration. No herb sharing. 6 herbs per person, maximum limit.
Charlotte's north of Brecconary.
Okay.
All right, so we have a sighting of the game's final dungeon there. That is Charlotte Castle. You could tell, we just saw the very edge of it. There's sort of a block wall that surrounds it, as well as a moat, and that's why you need that rainbow drop for access at the end of this. Looks like a dead end here at the north end of the map for Artorias. I think we were mostly situated more in the northern half of this map at start. There was not a lot of territory up there toward Grave. So it seems likely that this is a good check out this short side of the map first and then push out further into sort of that south and southwest quadrant if you need to. Oh, and it looks like a town here. I believe this is a new town, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So only a couple of towns that we haven't seen so far. This could be Hawksness, could be Cole, and I suppose could be Rimmildar. But before we find out, Artorias actually picking up the level here. 2 power 5 speed for hit points, 12 magic points. So a lot of MP on level 14. That is definitely a go stat for magic points and a co-op seed. However, the hit points aren't quite there yet for Artorias. He's got 90. That said, on the HP build, the strength HP build for Destiny, he does have a very thin go level hit points at 97. But this is the town of Cole on Artorias' side. And on this search spot that I mentioned earlier, there is one sort of free item here, quote unquote, usually, but this one does have a treasure guard, which means it is one of our essential items, and it is that last quest item, the Stones of Sunlight. So takes out that rogue scorpion with ease, and now has all 3 components, kind of, for the rainbow drop. We still need to find that harp trade-in cave, and still need to find the rainbow drop trade-in cave itself. So a little bit more work to do there, but we are rapidly approaching the end game at this point. Still no heal more either, huh?
Nope, it's a lot of heal cast.
Yeah, a lot of heal casts after combat going on in this one. There is a cave off to the west of Cole here, and this is the Silver Harp Trade-in Cave. So Artorias is going to grab that Staff of Rain. So as you see, they're actually on Destiny's screen right now. It's pretty interesting. There's sort of little dialogue boxes that will pop up with that Lewis script. So Destiny can tell that he has used the Silver Harp. Artorias has used the Silver Harp to get the Staff of Rain right there. So you kind of get a little heads-up display of the different inventory actions that take place between the runners as they're going. I have to say, I'm a little bit disappointed that there was no overworld coordinates that were in an awkward spot, because one of my favorite co-op things is the joint princess rescue.
And unfortunately, the partner dies and the princess goes away and have to re-rescue her again.
Yes, that one can definitely happen too. So in co-op, one of the things that is shared between the runners is that there is, in addition to sort of our main quest here, there's also a little bit of a side quest where the king's daughter, King Loric's daughter, Princess Gwaelin, has been captured by the Dragon Lord and stashed behind that boss tile that I mentioned earlier in Swamp Cave. And so you can rescue her, and she will give you an item called Gwaelin's Love that acts sort of as a GPS to tell your coordinate position on the map, and that's how you hunt down those overworld coordinates in many situations. But before I talk about that some more, we do have Rimeldar, the town of Rim, on Destiny's screen. So there are multiple random chest locations here, and 2 behind all these locked doors, which was a bunch of nothing. Looked like an herb and, I don't know, what, a torch there? Go figure. But all 3, yeah, we got all 3 of them. So all 3 random chest locations occupied here in Rim. Meanwhile, Artorias has found mountain caves, so there are a bunch of random chest locations here as well. You see Destiny picking up that last wonderful item, the Cursed Belt, in Rim. So 3 chests, kind of exciting. What was in those chests, not very exciting. And we've got a wings here on Artorias' side. That is an item that serves the same function as the return spell. Basically warps you right back to start. So those can be handy to have around now and again, but if you have the return spell already, they're of slightly less utility. And yes, that Cursed Belt is itself mostly useless, but it does give you a sense of whether or not there are search spot checks. We've already seen Cole. We knew there was a search spot there. We've already seen that there were no overworld coordinates. So the Cursed Belt gives us a little bit of information. There'll be one of those in the world for every search spot that is occupied. So we already knew there was a search spot occupied in Cole. So one Cursed Belt doesn't tell anything. If we see another one, we know that there has to be something on the search spot in Hawksness, which I think now is the only town that we have yet to see. Ooh, sweating that fight there against the Star Wyvern just a little bit for Artorias' sake.
I was expecting a dodge.
Yeah, that would be just poetic, right? Get a dodge there on that last swing. All right, last chest in Mountain Cave is some gold, so looks like nothing much of consequence there in Mountain Cave either.
How many chests were in Stone's Cave, Destiny?
2.
And
Plus
one was
one
gold?
in the treasury, and 1 behind the locked door, so that's a total of 6, right? One,
Yeah, and I
two,
just
three,
got-
4, 7.
I just got 4 or 3. Okay. Do you know which one was gold?
Oh, of course I don't.
Yeah.
um, one of the chests in the Stones Cave, I believe, was gold. Perhaps
Oh.
the first of the 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so speculatively, based on those comments, Artorias, I assume you're going to set up the gold grind here? Or at least try to?
Going to try to, yes.
Okay. So the situation here is one of the things about Dragon Warrior Randomizer, I'll try to explain this on the fly as best I can, is that there's a little bit of a glitch that can be involved. And in random chess locations, the execution can sometimes be a little bit difficult. But the basic idea is if you go into any dungeon and you clear out all of the chests there, if you compile a number of chests greater than 8 in terms of the number of chests you've opened, when you get booted to back to start, as Artorias did just there, actually using that fighter's ring in combat to waste his turns and die on purpose, he'll get back to start. And depending on the number of chests he's opened, basically any chest after the 8th chest will repeat infinitely, and you can just continue taking it. So he's going to open this chest here in the treasury. And so this counter is still going up as he opens chests right now. And once he reaches 8, every chest after that will open essentially infinitely. So if you have something like a gold chest, that means you can just camp out on that chest and continue using that take or search command to continue gathering gold. So that's another chest there. You see that one did not stay on the screen, so the glitch isn't quite active just yet. But there are 2 more chests in the Stones of Sunlight cave, that little cave we saw very close to the beginning of the seed. Destiny, check that out.
I think that was their one gold chest at home.
Yeah,
Jesse,
so that
you said it was in Stone's Cave.
the wonders of co-op.
That's what's fun about co-op. You turn it into a 2-player game, and then if something goes wrong, you absolutely have someone to blame, right?
Yes, unfortunately, both of those are empty, so no magic armor, no silver shield for the co-op team today. That said, I see a red dragon with hurt. So I think that means level 15 is happening very shortly.
If we really want to do the gold grind at some point, we do have a good setup in Grave near start with 3 chests on the top level there.
It's true. Could do that when I'm diving.
Absolutely. But let's see. So any dive will be forestalled for a little bit here. We still need to find the Rainbow Drop Cave, but perhaps more importantly, on level 15, still no heal more. So that means, with that, it means all spells have to be learned by level 16. It's the way the randomizer works when that random spell learning order flag is on. So that means both the heal more and the hurt more spells are tucked away on the final possible level for both of those. So we're going to need level 16 in order to beat this seed.
All right, and with that quick grind, do you mind if I cut in for a second?
By all means.
All right, I just want to let everybody know that we are opening up 2 more incentives. For Metroid Planets, we have a hazard run. Total of $100 will unlock the hot and cold damage rooms in that, as well as another $100 to upgrade to large, which means a large map with more rooms. And we did also add a milestone. We hit $5,000 before the final run of this marathon Ocarina of Time randomizer. It's going to be Ice Trap Mayhem. So, it's going to add hundreds of ice traps to the item pool just to keep Cubs up and running. and keep him up all night. Anyway, appreciate that. Back to you guys.
Appreciate you, Big Daryl. Thanks so much for that update. As a quick update for our co-op seed, a couple of wonderful things just happened. So first of all, Artorias did get to Hawksness and found there the worst possible boss guardian that he could see in that spot. That was a golem. And the golem, yeah, they really can't beat it without Healmore, or another item called the Fairy Flute is an item that puts that golem to sleep. But they don't have that yet either. And it's probably not worth searching it out when they know they can get level 16 and get Healmore and beat that golem even without it. But we are still looking for Erdrick's armor, so it's pretty important to clear that spot. But actually, so let's see. Because that boss is guarding, potentially guarding an item, but at this point, I think we have no Death Necklace, so that could still be on that search spot. We have no Fairy Flute, so that could be on that search spot, which is, of course, the Ultra Troll, because the item that you need to beat the Golem is guarded by Golem. So that could always be a possibility. Could also be Erdrick's armor, which is also one of the things that we will need in order to beat this seed in the fastest possible fashion.
We're definitely hoping it's Erdrick's armor under there. I did find the Rainbow Drop trade-in cave in the southeast corner of the map, so we do now have the Rainbow Drop.
Yes, and that was our other development, a slightly more favorable one than finding that golem on the Hawksness spike. Oh, very nice crit there on the red. These have heal and hurt, but that can pretty easily be overcome on level 15. That heal spell is not going to generally recover as much as the damage that Destiny is doing, but he's going to throw out the stop spell there, so you see that in action. The Red Dragon's spells are now blocked in perpetuity, so he can just continue to fight here. That Red Dragon rolled way down from its usual experience total, though, only 162, so it's not a fantastic enemy to fight. Pretty free, though, with stop spell. And we do see Artorias has decided to camp out again in this grind zone near start. Next level, I think, is at 13,000 experience.
Correct, Archfield.
Oh boy, correct, Archfield. That's something I hear so rarely. It's very pleasant. I can't even tell you. That's just a shot in the arm for me. So thank you for that.
Clip that and send it to Manda.
All right, so Destiny's on his way to the Swamp Spike. We actually have not seen this yet. So this is a boss tile here in Swamp Cave. Not quite there yet. Rogue Scorpion in the way, but we're going to check this out. How much would you like to bet this is a golem? Oh, no, it's not a golem. It's a Red Dragon. This is actually not too bad. This is a pretty simple fight with the abilities that the Red Dragon has rolled. It is not very threatening, although it has decided to swing pretty freely here instead of casting that hurt spell.
Sure likes its heal, it appears.
Yeah, that heal seems like a pretty high percentage heal. You've gotten it into heal range, and it just it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna sit here and tank these 30s and still live. Oh, tank that, Red Dragon. 102. Cleared their range.
So my
Are you
purpose
checking
in
it,
here was to... Yes, my purpose in here is, number one, check that spike enemy, see if it's something we want to grind. And then the second thing I'm in here for is to see if Gwaelin is holding on to a chest.
Ah, yes, good check. So we had not seen this one yet. And yeah, Gwaelin's cell does not have a chest. That's one of those random chest locations. So sometimes there will be a chest there. That one's pretty easy to forget about if you don't feel like you want to rescue Gwaelin in a given seed. So that's a good check there. We're still looking for that armor. But we're much closer to level 16 now. Only about 280 or so experience points until we get there. But I think we've tracked down all of our locations with the exception of Tablet Cave, which only has, I guess, 3 possible chest checks. Is that the only thing we haven't seen so far, or have we seen that and I missed it?
I don't think we have, so naturally it's going to have the armor in it.
Naturally.
We haven't seen the Tablet Cave. We also haven't checked down at the bottom of Deep Grave.
Yes, that is correct. So still some places where armor could be hiding out, and as I mentioned, there are 3 possibilities for that Hawksness search tile. So there's no guarantee that the armor that we're still looking for is on that spot. So still a fair few places to check potentially, but now on level 16 for Artorias, we are basically in go mode. We still need that armor. The stats are actually really good here on level 16. To give you a quick rundown, we've got Artorias with the Agility MP build actually has 116 magic points. And that's pretty important because in these co-op seeds there are, shall we say, alternate ways to fight the Dragon Lord. Depending on what level we are when we make that final attempt, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But 82 agility there for Artorias, 104 hit points, 116 magic points. So that means that Destiny actually has 83 strength and 125 attack power. So even under conventional terms, verging on go here, even without some of the interesting things that happen in co-op that you can do to take on the Dragon Lord. But as you see, Artorias has bolted back for Hawksness, so we're going to get a check of this, and I think at the same time, it looks like Destiny is back in Grave, so kind of covering the bases here just in case. Or maybe even thinking about a gold grind, if you want to grab these top 3.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to grab the chest just in case.
Yeah, that makes sense. You can kind of cover both of these bases at the same time. If the armor's not in Hawksness, you can keep diving Deep Grave. If not, you have the potential for that gold grind. Maybe grab a silver shield or some magic armor if it turns out that the armor, of course, we talked about the checks that are remaining in the overworld, but there is still the potential that Erdrick's armor is hiding in the final dungeon, Charlock Castle. So now with Healmore, Artorias has gone back to this boss tile in Hawksness, and the golem should be pretty easy to beat. There's really not much left in the game that our runners can't fight now that they have Healmore and Hurtmore. And we got a Fortune Smiles Upon These, so that was not armor, that was the Death Necklace, which is very unlikely to come into play in this seed. So armor still outstanding.
So now I'm gonna clear Deep Grave here as fast as I can, so then we know what we're dealing with afterwards, whether we need to and or want to find Tablet Cave, or if we want to do a preemptive dive of Charlock.
I think I'm going to start the dive of Charlock, since we know where that is.
That sounds good, yes. If Tablet is near the Rainbow Drop Cave, that is a long walk.
Yeah, it feels like there's still a fair bit of unexplored territory sort of in the southern part of this map, if I'm not mistaken, so Tablet Cave can be out there just about anywhere. There are 3 potential checks there in random chest locations, but as you see, Destiny taking a route through Bottom Grave here, and if he finds the armor, we'll know it, because it will be treasure guarded. So it'll have one of those mid-game boss enemies on it like we saw there in the top of Grave for those quest items and so forth. So you heard the plan. Artorias is going to head toward Charlock Castle. The armor can be in there. So he'll start to scope out the final dungeon while Destiny explores the deeper reaches of Grave, trying to find that armor. Once they get it, they'll be ready to beat the game. There are 2 chests here on this grave floor, and that was an encounter on that tile. Are we going to have 4 treasure guarded items in Grave? No.
Oh, what a fake out.
Wow. Faked out by a possible treasure guard. That Demon Knight was very cruel. I thought for sure that was going to be the armor and we just get to go for game right now, but nope, still looking.
Dragon Warrior Randomizer has an amazing sense of humor.
It really, really does. All right, now as you've seen in chat, some of the discussion about the number of random chest locations in Charlock, there are a bunch of potential checks in Charlock with random chest locations on. So as you see, if you've never seen anybody go down one of these staircases before, there's a whole bunch of different paths going down through Charlock that we typically would not explore because the route to get to the Dragon Lord is fairly straightforward. But in this case, there's a bunch of things to check. You actually see 2 chests on screen for Artorias right now. Gets a fairy flute, which he throws away. Wow. Wow, Artorias.
That was in honor of DK there.
Nice. He did, that was his donation message, right?
Exactly.
Trash the flute. Right, unfortunately, neither of those 2 chests in sort of this, there's actually, I think, 5 staircases on this floor and 3 different possible chest locations. The ones in the east here are not the armor. We do actually have a chest on screen on Destiny's side as well. So any remaining chest that we see at this point could be that Erdrick's armor. But getting so many encounters that it's taken a little while to get to this last grave chest. All right, so no chest on the west location of this floor for Artorias. So he's just going to use the outside spell and reset his Charlock exploration, which I think is a really good call here. Doesn't need to look at any of those other staircases. And I take it no Erdrick's armor in the bottom of grave.
Correct.
Naturally. So we're going to keep looking. Tablet Cave is still a possibility. There are 3 chests out there somewhere in the overworld that we have not seen yet. But it looks like Destiny is going to hang around and run out of his resources here with the notion of doing a gold grind, activating that gold glitch that we talked about earlier.
Not on that one.
Not on that one.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, I knew that Demon Knight had hurt more, but naturally he does not want to cast it when you're actually trying to die.
So yeah, remember the gold chest, Destiny.
Ooh, this will be fun. Will Destiny remember which chest is the gold chest? Stay tuned. Since there were, I believe, actually, 6 chests in grave, this first chest, the gold grind glitch, is already active. So he's already accumulated those chests from grave. Whenever you die and re-enter the throne room, the 3 chests that were already there also get placed in the buffer. So you can add 3 to whatever chest total you picked up in your dungeon. And you know that after that total of 8, you'll be able to take from any chest after that infinitely. So as you saw, there was a little bit of a glitch there with the name on that torch chest that Destiny picked up. It said the chainmail, not actually chainmail. It's just that the game gets a little bit confused sometimes because it's not used to handling stuff. And now, on top of this gold chest, Destiny is going to be able to take it infinitely to continue to collect gold from it. We did get a check there. We usually refer to that as the Hourglass Room in Charlock. It's kind of a dead-end room that has 2 possible chest locations. So all Artorias had to do was step on that chest. And because the Treasure Guard's flag is active, he knew he would get a forced encounter of an enemy that would not normally be in Charlock if the armor had been in that chest. So didn't even need to open it to know that that's not the one we're looking for. So, Destiny grinding here, are you thinking, I assume magic armor and silver shield?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll need about 22,000 gold to get to that total 22, 23 grand. Cantlin is just outside, so they'll be picking up some extra defensive gear. Since we haven't seen armor yet, that magic armor can come in handy. But so far, at least, it looks like the enemies that we've seen in Charlock haven't been too bad. We already knew that Red Dragon had heal and hurt, so it's very pesky. We saw one run block Artorias, I'm going to say about 7,300 times a little bit ago. Yeah, it was in the neighborhood. But the rest of the enemies, at least, don't seem to have dangerous abilities. Of course, I say that when we get a stone man here that's going to run block Artorias as well. So forced to burn to heal more. So Artorias has now checked both of these staircases from the top floor lead to some areas that have random chest locations, but those checks have been exhausted, so Artorias is going to continue heading down through Charlock here. We'll dip into that supply of herbs. Strictly speaking, Artorias has enough MP that if he manages to find the armor on this dive, he would actually be positioned to still potentially win here, as long as he doesn't have to burn too many healmores on the way down. We do have, let's see, I guess there weren't any chests in Cantlin, so that check was exhausted, but we do now have magic armor and silver shield. So the silver shield is worth 10 more defense than that large shield was. And the magic armor actually has the same defense power as the full plate, but it does take the edge off of those damage spells, hurt and hurt more. We'll cut the damage from those by a third. So that can be helpful if you know there are enemies around that are throwing spells. We also see here Destiny getting rid of some inventory, some stuff we didn't quite need anymore, and loading up on fairy water. So, as you are probably aware by this point with co-op with our Lewis script, our runners share their inventory. And so in the end game here, it's really interesting. We are on level 16. We're probably going to pick up level 17 here, I think, before all is said and done if we take some more fights. Not necessarily required, but is something that might happen before the end of the seed here, coming up at 16,000 experience points. But right now, both of our runners technically go, even though right now Artorias has an attack power of 119. That's much lower than would usually be possible. But since our inventory is shared, one thing that we can do in the endgame here is actually a function of the randomizer, and one of the flags that is on today is that torches and fairy water can be used in battle as items. And this is something that came along in later iterations, remakes of Dragon Warrior and other Dragon Warrior and Dragon Quest titles, so that you're able to use those as battle items. And as a consequence, since inventories are shared, one of the things that you'll often see in a co-op seed is that you're able to win before your attack power gets high enough to beat the Dragon Lord under normal circumstances, because you can essentially access infinite fairy water, which does between 9 and 16 damage, because one player can stand at the fairy water shop and continue loading fairy water, while the other player chucks fairy water at the Dragon Lord. So you basically just have unlimited ammo, even if you don't have enough attack power on your own to do it. If you've got enough MP to last through the fight, you can beat the Dragon Lord that way. That's one of the big reasons for the separate builds that you see here. Artorias running that MP build means more healmores. And so even though the attack power is lower, that still gives them a pretty good chance to beat the Dragon Lord. Oh, there's a Rogue Scorpion. I think we found our armor. And we're going to get level 17 at the same time.
All right, while we finish that out, would you mind if I cut in real quick?
Please do.
All right. We have a $100 donation from Quinn Patrick, who asks, why doesn't the hero just enter Garenham from behind? He's stupid. And he put that towards the incentive for Metroid planets to make it a large. And with that, I also want to point out that we have crossed the $3,000 threshold. Woo! All right, keep the love coming, guys, and keep this awesome show on the road. And I'm gonna toss it back because it looks like we got some action coming.
We really do. This is interesting. Artorias is headed around, so he picked up his armor there on the next to last dark basement of, or I guess next to last dark basement of Charlock. That rogue scorpion was the tell. Those aren't usually in Charlock, so that was our treasure guard. Grabbed his armor from the chest and got a huge HP gain on level 17. So now has the opportunity to get some doubles, and I think our runners are going for game right now because, as I said, with these fairy water strats, very possible to beat the Dragon Lord right now. Artorias only has 123 attack power, but he does get, fortuitously, an enemy that is pretty easy to beat on this boss tile right before the Dragon Lord. This red dragon has heal and casts it all the time, has hurt and casts it slightly less, so a pretty easy enemy to beat. It does need to dip into some resources, but with the hit points as high as they are right now, they actually stand a pretty decent chance to beat the game right here. And as you see, Destiny has set up at the Fairy Water Shop in Cantlin. So we're going to go for game right here. We're going to try to beat Dragon Lord 2 using only Thrown Fairy Water. Have to get through DL1 first. So the basic idea here is Dragon Lord 1 has between 75 and 100 hit points. He also has the spell of Stop Spell, which once you have Erdrick's armor, does nothing. And we get 2 casts of it here. That's actually pretty big. So gonna get through the first form of the Dragon Lord pretty easily, and right on to the second. So the Dragon Lord transforms into this big guy who's so large he's standing on the dialogue box. And our first fairy water throw is going to be worth 13, and the Dragon Lord did not do enough damage to force Artorias to heal just yet, so a 14 follows that for 27. Dragon Lord 2 can have between 150 and 165 hit points. I guess I should say between and including those totals. So a 9 there. And as is tradition, I have already lost count, but I am trusting our runners to know where they are in this fight.
36 plus this shot equals 50.
Looking pretty good so far. Got that opening double, was able to fit in 2 attacks before Artorias had to heal more the first time. So another double means that they're basically on pace to win this fight. And the rolls have been pretty good so far.
That's 74.
Ooh, 47. Artorias is going to heal. I think I like that. You're basically guaranteed to get back to full hit points, and now on 99, virtually guaranteed to get a double. And will, so we'll be able to Fairy Water twice in a row here. Ooh, kind of a crummy heal more there. That was a pretty big setback. Has to heal more twice in a row because heal more has a range too. Sometimes you roll low on that when you have low hit points and you're not able to squeeze in that attack in between.
We're at
So
103.
now down 103. Looking a little bit sketchy, but maybe a couple doubles, possibly even a triple to close here. This is still within range. Gets the double there. Needs some good rolls.
Fill me up and go.
Yep.
I'm at 138.
138 now, so only a couple of Fairy Water throws left on current hit points. That's a 10. Ooh, 44. So even if this one does not do the trick... Oh, it does! Everybody, please, if you would be so kind, get your GGs out in chat. As Destiny is going to talk to Invisible King Lorik. Once that Dragon Lord defeated flag is ticked, that means the other co-op partner, the one loading those fairy waters, can just ditch straight back to start and finish the seed right away because that state is linked to. So very nice. Job well done, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. And the funny thing is, we just had a practice seed Thursday, where we had the exact same situation, and a back attack doomed us for the DL2 fight. So luckily this one better.
That was in my mind the whole way. Those tight stats only going in with 9 heal mores. You hope for the odds to balance each other out between high and low fairy waters, high and low heal mores, not get back attacked. Got close at the end, but pulled it off. Great job, Artorias decision making in that Dragon Lord fight. Played it safe when he needed to, didn't take an unnecessary risk, and it worked out.
Thank you, Destiny. Well done with yourself. So, GG.
I bought all those fairy waters with a lot of earnest and determination for you, buddy.
All right, that is fantastic. I'm really glad that we got the opportunity today, Destiny and Artorias, two great co-op runners, to show off this mode, something we don't normally get to see on this stage, DWR co-op. It's really great. If you get a chance to check it out, please do give both of them a follow. They're fantastic runners, not just of co-op, but also in all of the other dynamics of Dragon Warrior Randomizer as well, and did a fantastic job today. So thank you both for showing this off for everyone.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for yourself, Archfield, for jumping in and commentating. Much appreciated, and all the volunteers and runners here over this event. So,
likewise, I couldn't have said it better, Artorias. You got it all covered. Thank you so much, Archfield. Thank you for all the volunteers, and thank you all the donations and the viewers. I see a ton of GGs and support from the Dragon Warrior Randomizer community and other fans of randomizers. This has been wonderful. We really appreciate it.
All right. Well, speaking from the host Randomania side of things, we are glad to have you guys. All right. So we are getting this all wrapped up. We are going to be going on ahead here shortly with our next run of Phantasy Star for Profound Distortion. It will be ran by Lady Ariana and Commodore Canadia 64. The trick is they have to have you choose their party. So this is kind of your last call to get in and snipe whatever characters you would want for that. Otherwise, they have their 5 set in stone. But first off, we are going to go on a quick break. Let our runners run away like the metal slimes they are, and go rest and relax after that fun and amazing co-op race. That said, we will be back shortly.